Okay, let's settle in. So welcome to these few minutes that we have together, just to draw away from the busyness of this day and of this week and of this season, and find that familiar space of stillness. Even if the physical space where you have found yourself today is not still or quiet or without distraction, the space we'll create for ourselves internally can be our space of stillness. So as you settle in, you allow your eyes to just soften, your gaze to either direct down or to have the eyes closed, whatever feels right. I would invite you just to start a slow, even, calming pace of breath. Just slowly bringing that breath in, and then just as slowly releasing it out. And as you're beginning to find that rhythm that we so often return to, that brings us calm, brings us grounding, brings us ease, even within a day that maybe hasn't had a lot of ease, it is so comforting to know that we take this practice with us everywhere we go, both physically as well as mentally. And it's so fitting that our time for these few minutes is connected to a Yoga Sutra that tells us the very same thing. So as you're pausing where you are and just breathing slow and deeply, I want to share with you the words of Yoga Sutra 141. It is one of my most favorite. And so I would invite you, as I share these words, just visualize the image that Patanjali is creating in this beautiful aphorism that he's given us about this path, about this walk that we're on. He says, just as the naturally pure crystal assumes the shapes and colors of the objects placed near it, so goes the yogi's mind. One more time. Just as the naturally pure crystal assumes the shapes and colors of objects placed near it, so goes the yogi's mind. And so as we explore the lesson within this sutra, I would invite you just to picture this beautiful, clear crystal. The kind that when you just spin it around, it's like you can see through it, but you can't quite see through it. It's just this beautiful, amazing thing. The light comes in. Sometimes it appears to go all the way through. Sometimes it appears like the crystal just holds it right there. And then you spin it and you see something very different. And so then imagine that you have this crystal and it's just sitting on your table or on your desktop or in your palm. And you place a beautiful red flower right next to it. And all of a sudden, this clear crystal that light was just piercing through and illuminating, all of a sudden looks red. The same crystal that just seconds ago appeared to have no color. Now the light comes in and it reflects red. You twist it and you turn it and the red begins to reflect out on the wall next to you on the space where the crystal is laying. So the crystal has taken on the color of that flower, and it's a beautiful thing. But Patanjali tells us that same example is the example of our minds. And so I'd like us just to pause and just think about the normal busyness and noisiness of the day, of the jobs that we do. For some of us, even the families that we're in, the colleagues that we work with, the environments where we spend our spare time. And just think about how you feel when you've been in an environment that is chaotic and distracting and noisy to the point that almost overwhelms you. It's like your mind was this beautiful, pure crystal, and you've sat right next to it, the noise and the chaos. and the discomfort and the overwhelm of the day. And just like that crystal took on the red color of the flower, our mind begins to take on all of those things as well. We start to feel chaotic in our heads, in our thoughts. We feel scattered, disconnected. For some of us, it causes us to shut down because it's overwhelming. It's not a very good feeling to have, but it's real. It's a realistic thing that happens in our world, in our own lives, often. But there's also good news, because when our mind is set close by, right next to a meditation practice, guess what the mind takes on? What it begins to look like and reflect. A meditation practice that represents the consistency of being in the present moment. A meditation practice that represents the physical stilling of the body, the emotional stilling of the responses that we have. And then there's the mental stilling of the mind as well. A meditation practice that teaches us about compassion and discernment and wisdom and truth. A meditation practice that allows us to have liberation within the pause, within the stillness. And so as we show up for these minutes, sometimes together, sometimes we have them on our own, we're setting our mind, like that crystal, next to the things that we want it to reflect, the shape we want it to take upon itself. So that then we rise up from this cushion or this spot or wherever we've been, and we go into that noisy, oftentimes confusing world, and we are less likely to take on the shape of those things. Their power is lessened in our lives. Their effect on us decreases. It's not a perfect force field where we'll never take on those things again. But we start to feel that this way of being right here in this moment becomes our norm, our rule, and those things become the exception. Isn't that a wonderful gift of this practice? Again, it's not perfect. It's not without flaw, because we are humans who have distractions, who have egos, who have wonderings, who have temptations, who have old patterns and old habits that we're all trying to overcome. But the more we show up in whatever form our meditation practice takes on, the more that the beautiful, clear crystal of our mind takes on those things, reflects those practices. And so I'd like for us just to pause and first affirm ourselves. Affirm ourselves for realizing what this path makes available to us. We don't come to meditation, we don't pause because of the benefit or the impact that may have brought us here in the beginning. We knew we needed something, we knew something was missing. But then along the way, we start to realize this is just our lifestyle now. It's part of who we are. And those other ways of being are the ones that feel unnatural and less like us. And so let's just pause and affirm ourselves for the commitment to the path, to the taking on of those things into the crystal of our mind. want to spend just these next few minutes before we sit in quiet together. I want to spend these next few minutes just encouraging us. Because our meditation practice, yes, it is private and it is personal and it is intimate to our soul. But it also has a story to tell and to share with the world. Maybe not so much the lessons, unless someone is just ready to have those shared with them. But what we're sharing with the world is how this practice has changed us, how it has transformed how we spend our time, how we spend our thoughts, the things upon which we reflect, we contemplate. And I said that I want these few minutes here to be encouragement because not everyone understands this. And sometimes if your alarm goes off or your reminder comes or your time is away from people spending time in this practice, they may ask questions. They may have opinions. But we have to be okay with that. The opinions and the questions may not always be the things that we want to hear, that we want to answer to. But we have to be so okay with how we're spending our time that those questions and those opinions don't dissuade us. They just continue to help us affirm again and again the power of this practice. And so for these next few minutes, as we sit quietly together, as well as individually, let's make it a time of encouragement, whatever that looks like for each of us. Maybe breathing in and just affirming yourself in whatever way has meaning for you, and breathing out and feeling gratitude for this practice. Maybe there's a mantra that you personally want to repeat. Maybe for yourself, it is the silence of just being. But whatever shape these next few minutes take on, let them be minutes of encouragement. So that as we rise up or as we go through our day tomorrow, or even in the days to follow, and people wonder and quizzically look at us and ask questions, we can say it with confidence, with a little bit of determination, but also with compassion and grace, knowing that we understand things that maybe they do not. And so let's just sit, breathing in, breathing out, encouraging ourselves in this moment and in the moment to follow, so that when these moments together end, the encouragement will stay with us. The encouragement to be that clear crystal sitting next to that beautiful red flower, taking on that beautiful red reflection and shape, represented by the stillness, the calm, the peace, the knowing of this practice. Just as the naturally pure crystal, assumes shapes and colors of objects placed near it. So goes the yogi's mind. For these few minutes, friends, we have placed calm and presence and stillness next to our mind. Our mind has begun to take on the shape of those things. Let us take that away from these minutes and not only let it inform the rest of today, take it with us as we sleep, take it with us as we wake up the next day, and take it with us through our interactions with every person that we have the chance to speak to tomorrow. Not in a way that sounds like we know something that they don't know or that we have knowledge that they don't have, but let the stillness, the peace, the calm that has sat next to our mind for these minutes, let them be reflected in how we speak, in how we think, and how we move throughout our day. And then just begin to watch and see how our interactions with our world begin to look a little different. We are that crystal, not just our mind, our entire being. And the more that these things are set close to us, the more we take them on as our own. I cannot think of a more beautiful way to live this journey that is our lives. Namaste.